Hi everyone, this is Sharon. Today I am here to share with you my latest journal. This is one that was not on my custom request list, so it will be available in my Etsy shop. It's just something that I had on my to-do list that I've been wanting to do for quite a while, so I worked on it this month. If we look at the front of this journal, you can see I added a little piece of jewelry and I tied it up with this green silk sari ribbon. So I'm just going to remove the jewelry and remove the ribbon. And then I just tucked in this little stereograph card. And then on the front, I wrapped the cover with this piece of beautiful French lace linen. It's an embroidery, actually, not a lace, but I just got this recently on eBay and I absolutely love it, and I thought it was perfect to go with this journal. This cover, the reason I'm working on this right now and taking a break from my custom list is I have had this book cover sitting on my bookshelf looking pretty for about 2 years now. And every time I make a journal, I look at it and it's not quite right. So I decided I am going to start with this cover and make my contents fit the cover. So this is something I bought from Jacqueline at Souvenir de la France. And it's a beautiful, beautiful cover. It's got this pretty red background, but the colors are quite bold and vivid. So you've got this red, this beautiful blue, and the green. And so what I decided to do was pretty much go with mainly a blue theme inside with some accents of green and red. So as we step inside, the main kits that I used for my pages and my inside covers are from the Paper Cameo, her Something Blue 1 and 2, and then I also used some images from the French Feathers Blue, and I just love those kits. They're just so beautiful, and I thought they went really well with my red and blue and green cover. So I used this image for the front cover, and then this one for the back cover. And then for the spine, I use this really pretty French ticking fabric. And normally I glue in my spine fabric first and put these inside cover sheets over the top of it. But I didn't want to lose the striping on the ticking fabric, so I actually put the cover papers on first and then glued in my fabric piece after. So here is, this first page is an image from the French Blue 1 collection, and I've just added a little lace piece behind this wax seal. I've also probably used at least 10 different digital artists throughout this journal, which I usually like to do. So I've got some Roxy Creations. Her plain background pages are pretty much my go-to most of the time. So that's where this is from. And then of course I always like to incorporate some vintage and antique book pages. So this is a page from a French embroidery book. And then over here I've got some antique French fabric and some lace that I used to create this pocket. I did a little bit of slow stitching on there. And then in that pocket I've got this tag that I made, and there's just a little pocket on the front of it that you can stick something into. Top that with some soft white fabric for the ties. That's the back. And then I've just got this book page tucked in there as well with this romantic picture on it. I've also incorporated some antique ledger sheets. And then on this side of the page, I've clipped on a couple of items. Here I've got an antique French postcard. And then I've got this journaling spot with this image of this bed at Versailles. And I've got a little bit of lace on there. And then some writing room on the inside. I have also incorporated some of these beautiful, really vivid floral images, and these come from Dash of Dave. This is the first time I've used any of his kits. It's DASH of Dave, and I'll put a link to most of what I can recall on the kits that I've used. I'll put that in the description, but I just love the beautiful blues and corals in these pages, and I've incorporated a number of these in the journal. On this page, I added this tag, and I've got a little tuck spot in the back, and then this journaling card. You'll see a number of these images. These are from some new kits I have in my shop of Versailles, some interior and exterior pictures. That's where that last bed one came from also. They're just kind of fun to use. This is an antique French book page from the 1700s. And then here I created kind of a corner tuck pocket sort of a thing by folding it in and up, and then I added this paper button, and then I've got this antique photo of this little girl. It's a postcard, I guess. And then I created this little journaling card. Got a tuck spot on the back and a journaling card in there. Here I've got a fabric tab on that page. This again is from one of the blue kits from the Paper Cameo. Here I've got this really gorgeous, it's I believe it's beetroot dyed paper. I've got some of these lacy papers I bought on Etsy recently. I just love how that bluish green goes with the picture. And then in the center of this signature, I used some old antique lace to make these belly bands. And then I've added a couple of stamps for dangles on the strings. And then in the pockets, I've got this vintage cookbook page. And then on this side, I've got another antique book page from a school book. And then I used, it was a gift from my friend Ina at Exquisite Memory Books. It was a drawing. It was too large to put in as one piece. So I cut it up a little bit and made a couple of journaling cards out of it. But what it was a French piece, and it was drawn by, I think it's Marie Sully, if I'm reading that right. And it was a pencil color drawing. And it was just beautiful. And so it was dated 1916, and it's on kind of like almost a construction paper, sort of. And so I just made a couple of cards from that. You can see I wrapped it around on the backs to create a couple of tucks on these. And then I just inserted these little cards. That one and then this one. Other side of that beautiful image. And then here in this pocket, I, inspired by Rachel at Roxy Creations, made one of these folded paper document keepers, and I think she was inspired probably from Heather at Rose Hill Paper Cottage, because I know I've seen her make these as well. But what it is you take a larger sheet of paper, fold it up, and then it creates multiple pockets and tucks. And then I put this band around it to kind of hold it all together. So in the pockets, I've got a couple of items that I made. This journaling card. And then I've got this little card in the bottom, the irises. And then what I did for mine was, I'll just take this band off. I actually used 2 sheets of paper instead of 1, just to give it a little more strength, because these sheets were kind of lightweight. So this is one of those embroidery book pages from that French embroidery book. And then this one is just a printout that I made. And then there's some writing room on the back. Okay, and then I gotta get these all folded up again. On this page, I've taken a panel of this beautiful lace that I have, just created this fabric flip. And then here on this page, I clipped this ephemera piece I made from a vintage envelope. So I slit the envelope open on the sides so that it opens up fully. And then I just attached this sampler image on top and punched it on the bottom. And then there's some writing room on the inside. And then on the back of the envelope, I created this little tuck or pocket, and I just put a little journaling card in there. Here I created a top tuck with this pretty paper. And then in there, I've got this journaling card that I made. Did a little stenciling with some paste on the back of that. And then another sheet that can be used for journaling on the back. On this page, I took some book spine and just created a little cluster with that and a piece of old fabric. Stapled those together. And then on this page, I added some of this metallic paper that I have and just punched that out. Here I created a little side tuck with this antique wallpaper piece. And then in there I put another old antique piece that I got from Leslie Williams at Crescent Moon Journals, sorry. And then this is the back, and it's dated 1891. I just love that piece. And then here I created a trifold. That image, and then this is what the inside looks like. And then I just took these embossed cardstock pieces and created some tuck spots, and then in those got some tags. This signature got a little chunky because I just kept adding more things to the pages, but here's another old French ledger page. And then on that page, I've got this image of this lady that looked like she was torn out of an album. I just added a little embellishment on the side. And then I also created this tag. Some piano roll paper in the back. Here I tucked a couple of journaling cards that I created, and I just added some really delicate embroidered handkerchief pieces in the backs. Here I created a pocket from some fabric I bought on eBay recently. It's French fabric from the 30s, and it still had this original label on it, so I took that piece and made a pocket into it from it, and then I added some lace on there, and then that's what that page looks like. And then in the pocket I've got this embellished library catalog card, some antique book page, and then I created this little sampler piece of lace and fabrics. Beautiful cross-stitch piece. And then this is what the back looks like. Here on this page, I created this top tuck and did a little stitching and collaging on there. And then in that, I've got this little booklet. This is an image from the French Feathers Blue from the paper cameo. Really pretty. I used that for the cover and then added a label. And then on the inside, this is another one of those images from my Versailles kit. And then I did some stenciling with texture paste. Added some places to write in the center. Just a fun little booklet. On this page, I've added a rather large tag. And then in the little pocket, I've got a couple of cards in there. Here I created a side tuck and embellished with a little bit of punching. That's for Rachel. I'm getting her into punching. Here is a large journal card. This beautiful bird image and some parchment paper on the back. And then here I've got this beautiful embroidered piece on the top. And then in there I've tucked some antique book page. And then I created this large journaling spot. Again, another image from that Versailles kit. I love that chapel. And then I punched the edges of this and use some straw paper on the inside, and just gives you lots of room to write in there. The thing about working on a larger format journal is you can make larger items. And then in the center of this signature, I've got this corner tuck with this embossed cardstock again, this blue cardstock, and then I just tucked this little journaling card in there. And then I've included this really large bird plate. Was to an antique shop a couple weeks ago and found a number of these, and I thought the colors in this one looked really nice with this journal. On this page, I added this little stamped piece on there for embellishment, and then I've got this journaling card with a little bit of embossed velvet, and then backed it with some antique ledger paper. And then on this side tuck, I've got this little piece that I made. These images, I've used several from this kit. These come from Lace Boutique 1. I'm new to her shop, but she's got some beautiful kits in her shop, so these come from there. And then I just added those to this image. And then these on the sides are little belly bands, so you could tuck some items in those. And then this is what the back looks like. It's a map, antique, or I don't know if it's antique. I think it's from the 1930s, actually. And then I just did a little stamping too on those tabs. Another journaling card that I tucked on there. It's the embossed paper that I just added to the back. And then on this page, I clipped a couple of items. I've got this journaling card, and I just added this beautiful plum, it's really deep plum velvet to the top. And then on the back, I just added a piece to use for writing. And then here I used a beautiful floral image and waxed that piece and made kind of a faux envelope. I added a wax seal on there, and that just opens up. And then inside I've added this journaling card. This, I think, is my favorite image in the whole journal. I just love the colors and the subject matter. I just think it's so pretty. And that again is from Lace Boutique 1. And then on this side of the page, I've got an antique calling card that I clipped on there, and then some onion skin from a receipt book. On this side of the page, I created this bottom tuck from this embroidery image. And then in there, I've got one of the envelopes from the Something Blue 2 kit. And what I did was just stamp on there, and I used it actually more like a file folder than an envelope. And I just tucked in a couple pieces in there. I lined it with this paper from my Versailles book. And then get a couple of these cards in there. On the backs, I stenciled with some ink, then added some Roxy Creation labels on there. Here I've got this little narrow side tuck, and in there I've got this journaling card. I love the chandeliers. And then I also tucked in this piece of antique wallpaper. It's quite fragile, very old. I just thought I'd put the whole piece in there. I just thought it would be fun to use or just to look at. On this page, I embellished with a paper doily, and then I created the side tuck with this embossed piece of paper and did some gold leafing on it. And then I also added a little piece of that gold leafing paper down here. Every time I use that stuff, I remind myself that I'm not allowed to use it in the house because I honestly think it's worse than glitter. I get little pieces everywhere, but it does look pretty. On this page, I clipped this antique French envelope from, looks like 1857. It's got some beautiful handwriting on it. And then in there, I just tucked a couple of pieces of vintage and antique ephemera. I love this long, narrow format. And then one of my favorite embroidery images that can be used for a writing piece. Here I created a side tuck with this pretty floral image. And then I've got this French postcard from 1919. And then I also created this journaling sheet and lined that with some craft paper. And I've got this little embossed side tuck here. This is a book page from a book that I have on, I believe it's New England architecture. And then here I've got a shallow pocket with a little bit of slow stitching on there. And in that pocket, I've got this Victorian scrap piece from Leslie Williams and this tag. And I just created this piece that flops down. And this is one of my favorite graphics fairy images with the angel in the frame. I just think that's so pretty. And then also some room to write on the back. And then I just added the sari silk for the tab at the top. Some more of that pretty beetroot dyed paper. And then on this page, I think you've seen snippets of this handkerchief earlier on one of my tags, but I used the rest of it to form this top tuck on this page, and I doubled it up so it's actually a double tuck. And then in there, I've got this antique invoice from 1912. $27.50 for a suit and $7.50 for a coat. I'm going to say that was an expensive suit back then. And then I've got this journaling piece. I took a piece, the end piece of a piano roll, and just used that to kind of close it up. And it's got this beautiful floral image. And then the inside. Here is a page from a moth book that I have, and I absolutely love this page. It's got this beautiful kind of pinky red and gray. And then this side. And then here I've got some onion skin paper from 1900, some correspondence. This beautiful image. And then I just put a little lacy tab on the edge. And then in the center of this signature, I've got this image. This is from Jacqueline at Souvenir de la France. And then I just created this, could be used as a top tuck or just nice embellishment on the page. Some beautiful linen with, I guess that's tatting. And then on this page, I just added a couple of journal cards. The other side of that moth book. And then here again, I've created a couple of our double top tuck with that embroidered handkerchief. And then in there, I've got this little piece. It's kind of a foldy piece again, where I took this page and folded it to create a pocket. It's got this pretty image on this side, and then on the back, there's room to write. And then in there, I tucked another envelope from one of the blue kits. Really beautiful. And then in there, I just have this pretty rose image. And then I lined it, of course, with the Roxy Creations background paper. Here I've got another pocket, and then in there I created this floating pocket. And I have this tag inside. This is made from an old newspaper page from my hometown newspaper. It was dated 1893 and very crumbly and falling apart. So I glued it and adhered it down onto a piece of paper and then sealed that up so it wasn't going to crumble or go anywhere. And then the top of that, I just put some tulle and string. And I love using these pages. I've got a number of them because the fonts are just so gorgeous. And then here I've got this antique, I've got a number of these fabric tabs. I don't know if they were used for curtains or something like that, but I like using them as tabs in my journals. I just added a brad on there, or a eyelet. And then I did a little collage on this last page. And that is the journal. I hope you enjoyed that. And like I said, it should be for sale in my Etsy shop when I post this video. Thanks for coming along with me, and until next time, bye-bye.